Plaintiff Everett Meadows is a landlord who leased a property to the defendant's estranged wife. Everett claims while there, his tenant reconciled with the defendant, and the defendant moved in, only to begin arguing with his wife and damage Everett's property. Defendant Daniel Hill says after he moved in with his estranged wife, they decided to get a divorce. Daniel claims his wife changed the locks on him, so he had to force his way in by breaking the door. And he feels his wife is responsible for the damages.
Start with you.
Okay, my name is Everett Meadows. I'm a landlord by trade. I'm a pharmaceutical rep. I started purchasing property about 12 or 13 years ago, and
just doing what the other dope boys do. Yeah, y'all like to sell dope and go into real estate. Go ahead.
So my action against Mr. Hill is all because I I leased another property 2 years ago to his wife, and at the time they weren't living together. I believe they were separated. I believe he was living in another state.
Stay out the man business. Go ahead.
So that was 2 years ago. She was a model. Her name is Morgan Hill. She was a model tenant until apparently they decided to reconcile, and he moved from, I believe, Florida, and decided to move back in with his wife. At that particular time, because this is a duplex, I started getting calls from the neighbor who also lives in the building, saying that there was a lot of just commotion and fighting and arguing. And on one of those occasions where I did have to get involved, Mr. Hill forcibly entered the apartment. My tenant told me that she wasn't home at the time.
Your tenant meaning his wife?
Meaning his wife, right.
Ex-wife.
Yeah, and so there were 3 doors. There's a screen door.
That'd be X too. You got me put out. Go ahead.
There's a screen door, there's an outer door, and then there's the door to her apartment. So basically, there's 3 doors to get into her apartment. My action against him stems from the fact that all 3 were damaged. Now, she told me, and I do have a witness statement from her here, that the reason why she wasn't at the apartment was they were going through a divorce, and that he had reported that he was being followed mysteriously by some people that he didn't know. He was uncomfortable with that, so he felt he needed to get a license to carry a fire weapon. And in addition to that, she said that he was sleeping with knives and walking around the apartment with knives. She runs a daycare in part of the apartment, so it's a 2-level apartment. 1 floor is a daycare. She told me that the erratic behavior and that the fact that they were having so many issues scared her, and she didn't really want to be in the apartment anymore.
Did she tell you what she speculated?
She just thought that he thought somebody was following him. And she had no firsthand knowledge
felt he was
that
paranoid.
He was really being followed, right? So, but she did have
firsthand
firsthand
knowledge. He was on any type of drugs?
No, she didn't. She didn't allege that.
That's extreme paranoia. Typically, is because of drug addiction of some sort. Sir.
So we were separated for a little while. She called me back in May, and she was trying to get this daycare that he's mentioning off the ground, and she didn't have the funds to make it happen. So I decided I was gonna move back in to help her out financially. I was the one paying the rent, the gas, electric, phone bills, food, everything.
Good.
The daycare slowly started to get off the ground, so the need for me to be there was less and less, and then our relationship started to reflect that. So in the process, we decided to go ahead and get a divorce, and we decided that we were gonna split up around October. The relationship between us started to get a bit more spicy, and she decides to show her frustration with vindictive behavior. We went to our first court hearing, and at the court hearing...
Court hearing for what?
For divorce.
Okay.
She said, is there any way I can get him out of the apartment right now? And the judge told her, no, he's been there since May. He's the one paying all of the bills. You have to legally evict him at this point. She says to the judge, well, I'm just gonna change the locks. And the judge says, ma'am, you cannot just change the locks. That would constitute any legal eviction. Right after the court date or the court hearing, I went out to try to give her some space to keep things calm. When I got back to the house that night, lo and behold, the locks had been changed. So I forced my way into the house. And I was told that if someone goes to illegally evict you in the state of Ohio, I don't know if it's true or not, then the person who is doing the illegal eviction is now responsible for the damages, considering that I am a legal tenant to the property and I was the one paying the rent.
Okay, you have something that says that? That's not my understanding. My understanding is that you're not supposed to kick in anything at all. You're not supposed to get in, you're not supposed to engage in violence. So perhaps it's the same judge that ruled incorrectly and improperly when this woman felt it was an emergency situation. Yes, you do order someone out. She felt threatened by you.
Well, I don't
Why did she tell the judge she wanted you out then? And what was all this going back and forth?
Because
clearly she felt threatened. If she said you had knives and guns, was that true?
So no. So I represent.
So you never did?
No. I represent an organization, and we believe that all young men should have a license to carry.
They know you kick in doors? Young men believe when they fall out with their wife, you kick in the door? I hope not. Don't teach them that part.
No, I'm not teaching them that part.
Go ahead.
And I still had all my items in the house as well.
And that's why we shouldn't have everybody carrying guns, because they get violent, like you just did. Go ahead. You teach young people to carry guns, and what else?
Well, I'm just saying that that's the... And then now, ever since I got my license to carry, it's been showing up in every police report that is being made.
Thank God for that.
It's showing up in the court now. It's about the gun, but I got my license to carry after I moved out, Your Honor. Okay. Just to kind of give you a perspective of what really is going on here. It's just a way for her to be vindictive. You know, she's angry about
getting her door kicked in? You don't think she should be?
Well, why is she changing the locks? I don't understand that.
Because you were sitting up with knives and guns, if what he says is true. So she wanted you out, so she wouldn't have to worry about a crazy man. You did kick it in? And you believe that there's a law that says kick it on in, and it's no problem. What does that law say about you getting shot when you kick in a door? Now, that law might allow her to shoot you. Go ahead,
told that it's considered forced entry, and that if it is my legal property, I cannot be illegally evicted, and I am allowed to make my way into my property.
You think it's yours?
I was paying for it, and I was there.
You're confused. Now, do you think you should pay or not?
No, I don't.
Why not?
Because I'm not his tenant. His tenant was the one.
You just said you paid for everything. See why I say you're confused? Your counterclaim for $1,000 for emotional distress. How does he owe you?
For all of this. I feel like
all of what? All of what?
I feel he should have went after his leased tenant.
Okay, you're wrong. You're wrong and you're confused once again. So if that's your only counterclaim, your claim is dismissed and yours is granted. He's terribly confused about whether it's his place, whether he's a tenant. Very confused. Judgment for the plaintiff. Have a good day.
The judge's ruling was appropriate. I always think that there was some responsibility that anybody has to accept for destroying somebody else's personal property.
I don't have anything to say.